What a beautiful bike. All right, what is up guys? JaretCampisi with the beautiful Christina K. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be doing a first ride and review on my brand new MV Agusta Brutale 1000 RR. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. All right, so before we get started on the review, I do want to mention this is a giveaway motorcycle. So we are currently giving away 3 motorcycles worth over $100,000. Our new MV Agusta Brutale, our BMW M1000R, which is almost finished and will be given away very soon, and our brand new Ducati Diavolo V4, which we will be doing an entire custom paint scheme along with custom wheels, a custom seat. It's going to be incredible. The design will be coming out very soon, and there's a plane flying over top of us. Okay, so if you want to help support these projects and be entered to win all 3 of these bikes, patreon.com/Campisi Customs. It's always the first link in the description below. So today we're gonna be doing our first ride and review, and before we hop on the bike and ride it, I actually wanted to walk around it, talk about the aesthetics of the bike, the price, how it compares to some of the other naked bikes, along with the overall design and features and stuff like that. So this is a 2023 MV Agusta Brutale 1000 RR. I told you it was gonna be hot. It was in the sun.
Oh my gosh.
It is a inline 4 1000cc engine making over 200 horsepower. I think 208 is what MV claims on their website, which puts it up there with the BMW, which is, or sorry, I'm pointing at BMW, which is 205, and the Street Fighter, which I think is like 208 or 206. I don't know. They're all ridiculous. But the crazy thing about this bike is the price tag, 38,000 USD. So the BMW M, which is their highest spec bike, is 28,000, and then the Street Fighter Lamborghini was 68 grand, but that's, we're not, picture this is just a regular Street Fighter S. That's about 28,000. So it comes in about 10 grand more than the other top of the line Hyper Nakeds. And the question is it worth it? What do you get for that money? So first off, you get forged aluminum wheels, single-sided swing arm, absolutely gorgeous. It comes with this beautiful 4-exit exhaust, 1 for each cylinder. They actually claim that they do this so that it makes a unique sound. I think they referenced like an organ where you can make like each one have different lengths in there, different diameters I should say, which actually helps create a unique sound. I'm not sure if that's the case. I think the engine itself is what helps create the unique sound, but we'll get to that whenever we rev all these bikes and do flybys and stuff like that. So I mentioned the inline 4 1000cc engine. It's kind of crazy because I thought, you know, the BMW has the inline 4 and I thought that they would be similar for that reason, but after riding it, it actually does feel very different. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard a rumor that Ferrari actually helped them design this engine, so I'm not sure if that's true or not. I couldn't find any information to back it up, but if that's the case, that's actually really cool. But it does have a ridiculous amount of carbon features on it, and it's dry carbon. So I do think the fit and finish on this bike is definitely the best I've ever seen on a naked bike. It looks like, design wise, absolutely insane. I think it's the coolest looking naked bike, and when you walk around it, you just see features that you don't see on any other bike. The headlight's unique. Like I said, all the dry carbon is super unique. When you turn this thing on and you see the dashboard, it's super unique. Even the tank design, the seat, how it's split right here in the middle. I think design wise, I think this is the coolest naked bike on the market, hands down. It's unique. It's look at the dash. I think the dash is the coolest, as far as, you can ignore that just from the exhaust that I put on it. I think it's the coolest looking dash, and it actually has a surprising amount of features. You can connect your phone to this, and with your phone you can actually go in and change like the traction control settings. You can see some of them right here. ABS, lift control, wheelie control on other bikes, same thing. It has a lot of features, and it's very impressive. It has the Öhlins, electronically controlled Öhlins, the same as the Street Fighter does. And then it has, just like I said, tons of carbon fiber, dry carbon here, fully kitted, like best Brembos you can get. I believe they're the Stylema calipers, and it does have winglets. I think that this bike has winglets like the way that they did the winglets is the best of any bike as far as looks wise, how they kind of like integrated them into the design of the bike, don't you think, teens? And then these still provide, I think, 14 kilograms of downforce above, like, I forget, 150 kilometers or something like that. I don't know what the references are for English. But yeah, I would say design wise, like just the way the turn signals sit and where they put them, like in bone stock form, I think that this is hands down the best looking bike in the naked bike category. Would you agree with that, Christina? What's your favorite looking bike?
I think it's definitely unique. It just looks like a muscle car. If I had to compare it to something, like it's squished, it's aggressive, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's hard to compare it to the other two because the other two have been done up.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but I'm saying stock for stock, I think this blows everything else out of the water.
I don't agree with the price point though. I think the price is a little steep.
Yeah, they make less of them. They are a bit more unique. Like, I'm not sure if these are numbered. They're not numbered, but MV claims it's like motorcycle art. You would compare it to something like a Pagani or like one of those unique car brands that only makes like, 40 or 50 cars a year. I wouldn't say like maybe Bugatti level, like
but parts to find for them.
Yeah. Yeah, but there are parts out there. But yeah, like for example, one of the first mods I did was this custom mid pipe that I had my buddy make, Jordan at Schmuck Built. And the reason why I did that is because MV actually does not sell a full system for this bike on their website. They have the Aero full tie system listed on the website that comes with the Nürburgring and their Assen and their other special edition bikes. But Aero basically said that they wouldn't make them for anyone else, for any other bikes. So they're only for those bikes. You can't buy them unless you own one of those bikes. I was lucky and I reached out to a contact and I was able to actually get that exhaust for this bike. But other than that, they only make slip-ons. So, I could only find one other brand online, like QD, I think was the brand that makes an exhaust for this. But for some reason it was like bronze colored and didn't match the paint scheme at all. So things like that, yeah, there aren't as many readily available parts for these bikes. But luckily you don't really have to do as much to them either. So first thing I did was a tail tidy, and I actually did like a little custom design tail tidy, but like just the rear light design is just so unique and so beautiful. I just think that's super cool, and how this seat comes up right here is really cool. That is hot as shit. You weren't kidding. Mm-hmm. And just like even this part right here, like how this all comes together in here. I don't know, I just think it's a beautiful bike. You feel really special when you're riding it, and I think it's awesome. So why don't we go ahead and give you guys a sound clip, have Christina start it up, give you some revs, and then I'll hop on and we'll do some flybys, and then I'll take it out on the road and give you guys, wow, pulling a Jay Leno on me. So we did previously warm up all the bikes so that we could rev them for you guys. So this does have a soft rev limiter. If the engine's cold, it won't let you rev past 5,000 or 7,000. And then when it's warmed up, it'll let you rev up to 9,000, but it still has a soft rev limiter on there. So it doesn't let you just rev it up all the way. So we'll give you a little clip. It's not really a fair comparison because this is a stock. It still has the cats and all the mufflers in the rear exhaust pipes. This is a full tie system, but you can hear the difference immediately. Yeah, it's pretty absurd. Surprisingly insane. We'll just skip that one. We don't need, that's stock exhaust. Yeah, it's a stock exhaust. Right now. Yeah, this I just put the Termi titanium exhaust on it, and it has a dry clutch, so it sounds pretty unique. Actually, sounds pretty badass. I love this bike. It's so sick. So we'll hear what this sounds like. Very bassy. That has a soft rev limiter as well. Yeah, that's something pretty standard that they do. So yeah, so there's the overview of the bike. Design wise, I do think it's one of the coolest ones. I do think the price point is a little high, but if you take this thing anywhere, you're gonna be like the only one with it, and it's gonna draw a crowd and it's gonna get a lot of attention. You feel very special riding it, and that segues perfectly into some flybys and first ride. So let's do that.
such a fun bike, man. So, first ride and review of my 2023 MB Agusta Brutale 1000 RR. I wanted to put some miles on this bike so I could kind of give you guys more of a comprehensive review, since it is very unique and a bike that I've never ridden, and I wanted to see how it compared to some of my other bikes, the naked bikes that I've ridden. I've ridden almost every of the like top of the line naked bikes. First thing I will say, this is the most aggressive, not only in like throttle response, power, but also in riding position. It feels closer to a sport bike as far as being leaned over. I mean, you can see it's a clip-on with a little riser, where like most of the hyper nakeds have actual bars that come on where you're sitting like more up here. This one, like, you're very aggressive. That has goods and bads. It's a pretty comfortable position, and it's nice for when you're going fast, like you can really tuck in and get behind it. But obviously it's more aggressive, so if that's something where you guys get like wrist pain or lower back pain, or you know, being bent over like that, then this probably isn't going to be as comfortable for longer rides. If you're okay on sport bikes and stuff like that, then you won't have any issues, because it is more comfortable than every sport bike. But the riding position in general, I find it to be pretty comfortable. The seat is a little bit firm, but it's not uncomfortable. I thought that it might be, but it's not. Maybe for longer rides. I've done an hour ride on this thing and I was totally fine. The foot pegs, comfortable. They are pretty aggressive, but it's totally fine. And dude, the way this thing throws back and forth is insane. The brakes are really good, like very, very good. Just because it has the same braking system as another bike doesn't necessarily mean it'll have the same braking feel, but it feels really good. I will say one thing I've noticed about this bike, there's two things really. The quick shifter up and down, it can be a little clunky if you're not in like the right like RPM range, or if you're not completely off the throttle, or you're not like giving, like the bike wants to ride. It kind of reminds me of like the 1299s and like the even the V4 too, to an extent. Like, it doesn't like low RPMs. It doesn't like quick shifting when you're not either on the throttle or like high in the RPMs off the throttle. When you're just driving around town and you're quick shifting up and down like at lower speeds, it can feel a little clunky. So you kind of have to like learn where it wants to be shifted. But man, even the exhaust with just that mid pipe, listen to these crackles. I hope you can hear that. Listen to that. When you put a full system on this thing, I've heard some other YouTubers that have done it, it sounds absolutely freaking bonkers. Like, honestly, one of the best sounding exhausts I've ever heard. So I can't even imagine what it's going to sound like in person. But so see how that was kind of jumpy there? Even that one too. So the quick shifter is my one, not a gripe, but like, you definitely know when you're shifting gears. It's not as smooth as the BMW, as seamless, I would say, and even the Street Fighter is a little bit smoother as well. But you know you're shifting gears, so you know, sometimes with those newer bikes, they can almost feel slushy, like you don't even know you're shifting. This one doesn't feel that way. I got a bug in my visor, 1 second. God. And then the other thing is, the clutch has a heavier clutch feel, and pulling away from a stop, I left that clip in when I stopped in front of Christina and gave some revs and then started to pull away. Like, when you're trying to pull away fast, it almost feels like there's like this weird, it doesn't, like, nothing happens and then it's all the way out. So like, it can be a little weird to get used to. Once you get used to it, then that's fine, but it is heavier to pull in. My brother sat on this bike yesterday and he pulled in the clutch. He used to ride, he had an R6, and he was like, damn, that clutch is heavy. And I was like, yeah, I noticed that too. I'm not sure if that's something that can be changed with the clutch springs, or if that's just innately how the bike is. It's not a big deal, but I just want to mention it. So those are really my only two things I've noticed. The clutch can be a little weird at lower RPMs, and then the quick shifter, like, you need to be in the right RPMs to use it properly. But I mean, the bike is, like I said, I get like 1299 feels from it. Like, you need to know how to ride. The on-off throttle, like, look at this. There's on, there's off, and there's no like play, like it's either on or it's off, and that's only in sport mode. So like you got to know how to ride. But man, is it a freaking, it's an aggressive bike, man. Super aggressive bike. You feel special when you're on it. I love the dashboard, and like when you get up into the higher RPMs, it'll light up like green and then orange and then red, and it'll flash up here for when you need to shift and stuff. Listen to those crackles, man. Yeah, it's just really, it leans over so easily. Like, look at this. Just so I have noticed you do get a little head shake. The front end does get a little bit light. That's very normal on hyper nakeds, just because of the nature of how they are. That's one of the reasons why they try to get those winglets on there, to give you a little more stability. But the bike sounds ridiculous. I mean, it's absurd. So technology wise, it does have quite a bit of tech. So you get 4 rider modes: road, sport, race, and then custom. And then all kinds of stuff changes when you go through those rider modes. And actually, if I hit over, so you get an inertial sensor. It'll show you how much front and rear lift you've had, and then how much lane you have. And if you connect your phone to the app, it'll even show you, like, if you ran on a track, it'll tell you your best lean angles, what your braking like stuff look like, your front and rear lift and all that kind of stuff, where your throttle when you're on and off the throttle. So it is quite advanced for what it is. You have your traction control settings on the fly, along with your ABS settings, and you even have your front lift control as well. And then you have trip. You can record your trip, obviously, and then your total miles and all that kind of stuff. It'll show you how many miles you've done from start a trip. I like the inertial sensor to know how much you've leaned over. There's even a fuel gauge, which is really nice. And like the dash layout's incredible. I love how it looks. It's way more leaned back down, like flatter, than all the other bikes. Like all the other bikes I have, it's kind of like, they're like, hold on, I'll show you as soon as I get into neutral here. They sit more like this, and then this one sits like that. I don't know if you guys can tell that on screen. It has a steering damper, which is very good and needed. Electronic Öhlins, as I mentioned. You can adjust all types of different parameters in there, and it's just a beautiful bike, man. Like, looking down at this thing, the way they designed the tank, and this, how this dash sits here instead of out there like most bikes do, it makes it feel a lot more compact. It feels like there's not as much bike underneath you, which is a really cool feeling. Don't mind the engine light and all that. That's just because of the mid pipe that we did, because it removed the servo valve. So the bike's like, hey, your servo valve's unplugged, but it's because it's gone. But yeah, it's a really good bike, man. I love this thing. So one thing I will mention, the turning radius is terrible. So it is kind of a bitch to turn it around, even like pushing it around to maneuver it in your garage and stuff. But another thing I will mention too, coming from the BMW has that variable, I want to say valve timing or something. I forget what it's called, but it basically gives you more power down low, and then it swaps to different cam profile up high, so you still get the power up high. This bike under 6,000 RPMs does not have a lot of power. You're definitely waiting for the power. It's a screamer. It wants to be above 7,000. Like, here, watch. I'll give you a full. This is full throttle right here. There's all the power. It's not like it's slow under 6,000, but man, when you get above 7,000, it starts screaming and the engine comes alive, and it's absurd. Honestly, it's just a really fun bike to ride, like super fun bike to ride. I would say, like I said, my only 2 issues are just the clutch feel sometimes. It can be a little hard to figure out when it's going to let out. And then the quick shifter, which I'm not sure if that'll break in a little bit more, or if a tune might help that, because you can tune the throttle like timings for a quick shifter too. But man, it's such a small bike. Is that car gonna stop? Thank you. It sounds so good. I hope it comes across on camera for you guys. The engine is very unique, and just the overall feeling of the bike, it just gives you a really unique feel. Like the way that the dash is, the way the engine sounds, the way the bike feels, the riding position. It's just a really cool, unique, special bike. And I knew that I would like MVs because it's everything that I like about motorcycles. But I thought that this bike would feel a little more, I don't want to say archaic, but I thought MV was behind when it came to like electronics and like state-of-the-art like quick shift, you know, throttle mapping, electronics, engine sounds, all that stuff. But it doesn't feel behind at all. It feels like just different, and it feels aggressive, and it feels exotic, and it feels cool. And that's what this bike makes me feel. It makes me feel cool, which I really like. So yeah, I mean, I think that's it. That's like my first impressions after, you know, 100 miles or so on the bike, and it feels really good, man. I like it. I mean, where does it fit as far as the hyper naked segment? I would say it's definitely not the best value for your money because it's too expensive for that. But if you find one of these used, like these are 38 grand new. I found one used had 1,200 miles, brand new, bone stock, and it was like 23 grand. So like there's good deals out there. If you can find one for under 30K, I'd say it's a hell of a steal. In that 25 to 28 range where it competes with the other naked bikes, I feel like why not? The only thing that could be a problem, and I haven't really had experience with this yet, is maybe service or getting parts if you don't have an MV dealer close to you. I've heard stories, I haven't experienced them myself. And then if you want like tons of aftermarket parts where you can like really make a bike your own, then it could be hard to get parts for this bike, or it might just take a little bit longer. Like the exhaust that I ordered, it's like 30 business days, give or take. So that could be like, honestly, 1 to 2 months, maybe more. But I mean, it's coming from Italy, and that's pretty standard over there. So there's my first ride and review, initial thoughts and feelings about the MV Agusta Brutale 1000 RR. If you have the extra money, or you can find a good deal on one, and you want something different, something unique, something special, this is the bike for you. And I would love to hear feedback from you guys who own one of these bikes or who have ridden these bikes. Where do you think it compares in the lineup of hyper nakeds? Do you think I got it right? Is there anything I missed? And don't forget, you can be entered to win this bike along with 2 other motorcycles. We're doing a 3-bike giveaway worth over $100,000. Patreon.com/Campisi Customs. If you enjoyed the video, give it a big old juicy thumbs up. Subscribe for more, and we'll see you all in the next one. Peace. What a beautiful bike.